Hello and welcome to another AIC Productions video. Today we're going to be starting a two-part video on these two laptops you can buy for just over $160 brand new. On your left you have a Lenovo IdeaPad 130S. On the right you have an Asus E203M or MA. Some places have the model number a little bit different. On the bottom it says 203M on mine. And we're just going to do, in this video, we're going to go over just some basic specs, as well as I ran some performance benchmarks. I'll show you the results of those, and we'll go over the hardware itself. And then in the next part, we'll do gaming on both of these laptops. I've already done some gamings on the Asus. We'll do those same games and possibly a bit more on the Lenovo, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So let's go ahead, readjust the camera so we can see the screens of the laptops. Alright, so taking a look here, one of the tests I ran was Cinebench R15 on both laptops. Now I apologize, for whatever reason on the camera I'm looking through, it's showing the screens is looking very blue. On the camera I don't know how it'll show up in the video, but that is not how they look. In person it's the very standard gray screen that you see. Now as far as the results of this, for the OpenGL test, the Lenovo got 15.63 frames per second, the Asus got 16.52. The Lenovo got 134 on the Cinebench CPU score. The Asus got 136. And you'll kind of see that theme a little bit here, that the Asus ekes out the Lenovo just a touch in a lot of these benchmarks. Go ahead and open up Passmark. I ran that as well on both of these. And once again, let me tilt that screen up a little bit. You'll see on the left the overall score of the Lenovo is 1031. The overall score on the Asus is 1117. Again, just a little bit higher of that score. Going over down to the CPU mark, even though these have identical CPUs, the Asus ekes out the Lenovo just a touch. The 2D mark actually goes, and the 3D mark actually goes to the Lenovo, whereas the memory mark and the disk mark go to the Asus. So the Asus actually has slightly faster memory and slightly faster storage, especially with the eMMC storage, and I think that's where the performance gains is at. I don't think the CPU is actually performing any different, but the ability it has to retrieve data and process it is affected by the storage and the memory, giving us a slightly higher score. Now, is this a big enough difference of score for you to notice in real world application? No, you're not going to really notice the difference between these two laptops. The real difference that you will notice is the Lenovo. Well, it has 4 gigs of RAM and the Celeron N4000 processor. It has 64 gigs of storage, whereas the Asus only has 32 gigs of storage with the same 4 gigs of RAM and the same Celeron N4000 processor. And that difference of storage to me is huge, and we'll go over some of that here in a little bit, but definitely something to keep in mind as we talk about the difference between these two laptops. Now, you can buy the Asus with 64 gigs of storage, but it will run you an extra $35, almost $40. Now, is that worth it for the extra storage? I don't know. So what you could do with that difference of price is buy one of these. This is a 120 gig micro SD card, and I actually bought 2 of them, and we'll be putting these, if we want to focus, we'll be putting these in this laptop. We'll be gaming from the storage itself, and then we'll move the games to a micro SD card and see what difference we get on the performance of games, if any. So that's as far as hardware or specs go and performance tests. Let's talk a little bit about the hardware. So both have relatively decent and bright screens. I would consider them to be very comparable in overall screen performance. The things that you interact with the most outside of the screen is the keyboard and mouse. Let me just close out here. So They don't have the same backgrounds, unfortunately, so it's kind of hard to tell, but they have fairly similar brightness levels. They're both at their highest brightness. But as far as the keyboard and mouse goes, the mouse pad on the Asus is bigger than the one on the Lenovo. However, this one versus this one, the one on the Lenovo feels better. Running your finger across it, it feels better, and also the clicks feel better. It feels like a more upscale trackpad versus the one on the Asus, despite the one on the Asus being slightly bigger. As far as the keyboard goes, both are okay. The Lenovo's is better. The Lenovo makes and always has made an excellent keyboard, and that trickles down even to its low-end products. In this case, the 130S has a really good keyboard. I'm not saying that the Asus isn't also good. In fact, in some ways I kind of like its key layout a little bit better than the Lenovo, mainly because of the power button being here, and I do hit that sometimes, whereas on the Asus there's a separate physical power button up here, and the delete key comes all the way to the edge, and I do not accidentally hit it. But other than that, the feel of the keyboard is better on the Lenovo over the Asus. Now, let me hit a key here on the Lenovo, and its volume is up 100%. And then on the Asus, and its volume is up to, it was only 84%. Let's bump that up to 100. So that is probably the biggest difference between these two laptops, is the sound quality. The Asus beats the Lenovo hands down. It's louder, it's clearer, it's crisper. It is simply a better audio experience. If you're going to be listening to music, without a shadow of a doubt, the Asus is a better option. If you're watching movies, the Asus is a better option, bar none. It simply is, because it has much better speakers. Now, if you're not going to be doing that, or if you're going to be wearing headphones, then that really doesn't matter as much. I typically tend to wear headphones when if I'm actually listening to something, and so to me that's not as big of a deal. But I do like to sit and watch a movie with my wife sometimes, and we're not going to wear two separate pairs of headphones, and so I would go with the Asus every single time. In fact, I recently went on a trip, and the Asus is what I brought with me. Alright, let's go ahead and keep looking at the hardware. Now, I have opened up both of these laptops, and neither of them is upgradable. So you're not going to be able to add more storage, more memory, change the CPU. It just isn't possible. The Lenovo does have a place on the motherboard, if you are a lot more capable than me, of soldering on an M.2 port to plug in an M.2 drive. I do not have that ability to solder that on, and I figure most people don't, so I do not consider that an upgrade option, because you have to be able to source that part and solder it on to be able to use that ability. Plus, with the 64 gigs of storage, I don't feel that it is as necessary as it would be with the 32 gigs, and of course the Asus does not have that option at all. Now, as far as the construction, the Lenovo is heavier. I believe it has a bigger battery. I'll have to double check that. When I do the gaming, I'll also be doing a battery performance test. I do like the pattern on the Asus, but as you can see, being that it's this shiny plastic, it has gotten some scuffs and scrapes as I've had it several months now, about several months now. And it has gotten a few scrapes, but it doesn't look bad. I mean, you kind of have to be looking for them to see them. The Lenovo is more of a classic design. It's more simple. And I don't feel like it will get the scratches as much on it, because it's not that super slick shiny plastic, but the scratches it will get might show more. So this, being that it has that pattern on there, actually hides fingerprint smudges pretty decently, unless you're looking for them. Like, obviously I have a very bright light shining on here, and it is reflecting those fingerprints, but in typical lighting you're not really going to notice that, whereas scratches on here I think would be more noticeable now. I've only had this laptop now for about a week or so. I've carried it around with me a fair bit, and it seems to be holding up just fine so far. Obviously, I haven't had it very long. As far as overall size, they are very close in size to each other, but the Lenovo is ever so slightly bigger. Go up a little bit higher. So the Lenovo is ever so slightly bigger, even though they have the same size screen. And I think you can feel that only if you are unbelievably sensitive or you go between the two laptops directly. As they both have very similar power cords. Neither of them, as far as I'm aware, charges off the USB Type-C. We'll go over ports here in just a second. They both have these angled plugs. I believe they're almost identically the same size even, but the Lenovo wall wart is bigger than the Asus one. But again, just a little bit. Now, as far as ports go, they are extremely similar in ports. So starting off on this side of the laptop, get it to focus. There you go. So on the Lenovo, we have a full-size USB Type-A, HDMI, and a USB Type-C. You have on this side your micro USB card, or micro SD card, HDMI, USB Type-A, and USB Type-C. This side is where you have your headphone microphone jack, USB. This is on here where you have the micro SD card reader, your headphone microphone, and another USB port. So they have 3 USB ports, 1 Type-C, 2 Type-A's that are both USB 3.0, and then they both have micro SD card readers, and they both have full-size HDMI ports. So as far as expandability and ports on these laptops, both very excellent on both fronts, and very happy with that. So if you're like me, I still use a lot of USB peripherals, whether to charge a device or to use like a USB thumb drive, something like that. So that's important, and the USB Type-C is a nice option. More and more things are using that, so it is important to have it. So again, this is just a quick overview of these two systems. We'll be doing more for gaming and performance on them in a coming video in the next few days or a week or so. And if you have any questions or would like to see anything specific, let me know, so that way when I go to do that video, I can answer as many questions as I can. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.